Jen and Cam are two funny ladies who like to talk about murder, mass murder, murder-suicide, serial killers, spree killers, thrill killers, contract killings, honor killings, and a whole lot of other shit. Too heinous for me to list here. If you're disturbed by this sort of content, you may want to listen to something else. And if you're a child trying to listen to our true crime podcast, well, you better ask your mama.
Hi, Jen.
Hey, Cam. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty darn good. How are you?
Woohoo! I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for asking. We're back on a roll here, 2 weeks in a row, right?
Yeah.
Look at us go.
Look at us go. Only been doing it 4 years. Still barely figuring it out. Might I add.
Exactly. What you got for us for this?
Today, I know I say it a lot, but it's a humdinger.
Of course it's a humdinger.
I can't. These people, I just don't know about people. That's all I'm going to say about that. But here we go. You ready?
Besides our listeners, I hate everybody. So, especially this time of my life.
It's just
in the world. It's on fire.
It's rough out there.
Exactly. So why don't you take us away from it all?
Here we go. You ready?
All right. Mm-hmm.
You ready? As you know, Jen, tragic accidents happen. But when these tragic accidents happen with the same person at the center of all the incidents,
bit suspicious.
One must take a closer look. So here we go. It is 1990 when a 30-year-old named Cynthia Baumgartner meets a man who she thinks will be the man of her dreams. But that would not be anywhere close to the truth. Cynthia was attending her son's baseball game when she was introduced to a man by the name of Randy Roth. Cynthia had lost her 29-year-old husband just a few years earlier from Hodgkin's disease, but he had made sure that Cynthia and her two boys would be taken care of should anything happen to him. They had a really good marriage, and the loneliness was leaving a hole in Cynthia's heart. Perhaps this new man, Randy, would be able to help Cynthia be happy once again. One thing Cynthia was adamant about was that she did not want to marry a divorced man. Her strict Catholic upbringing meant that she did not believe in divorce. That's not a problem, Jen, because Randy just chooses not to tell her much about his past, including his past marriages, plural. So Randy asked Cynthia out, and she is swept off her feet. He bought her flowers, wrote her poetry, and showered her with attention. It was a whirlwind relationship, and when Randy proposed after only a month, that's right, a month, of dating, Cynthia, of course, said yes. The couple would run off to Vegas to get married. It would not be long before Randy approached Cynthia with the idea of getting a life insurance policy on each other. Cynthia agreed, especially being that she had had one in place already. Better to be safe and sorry. The new policy would total more than $350,000 should either of them die.
Good chunk of change.
Once that paper was signed, Randy began to change. He became controlling, no longer showering her with affection. He would tell her what she could and couldn't do. He began to keep her distance from her friends and her family. The toll was becoming obvious on Cynthia. She was miserable.
A lot of red flags dropping there.
The couple had not yet been married even 1 year at this point. They were under a year. If it was not bad enough, Randy was also verbally abusive to her two boys. That's going to be a giant no for me.
Thank you.
On July 23rd, 1991, Randy approached Cynthia with an idea. It seems that Randy thought it would be a good idea for a family getaway. Fun for the kids and a time to maybe rekindle the romance. He suggests that they all go away for the weekend to Lake Sammamish, located right outside of Seattle. By the way, this is the same location that Ted Bundy brought two of his victims. FYI. Cynthia is hoping that this is just what they need to get back on track. Once at the lake, the boys were swimming nearby when Randy and Cynthia took the raft out in the water for a little spin. A spin that would last several hours, by the way. That evening, a call would come into 911 regarding a drowning. A woman had apparently been floating on a raft with her husband, and the raft flipped. The husband worked to get her back into the raft and both of them to the shore. When first responders arrived, they started CPR. Cynthia was taken to a local hospital where at age 33, she passed away.
It's way too young.
Now, strangely, Randy called for a cremation as soon as he was able to get her body released. Her parents did not want that, and they fought him on it. He also called the insurance company to collect the life insurance policy on Cynthia, but this time it was much more substantial because you remember...
She had her own.
She had her own and all that stuff. It was $400,000, which is more than double the $844 in today's world, by the way. So it's almost $1 million he's going to be collecting, or would be equal to that at that time. And mind you, Jen, he did all of this before even calling family and friends to tell them of Cynthia's passing. He called the insurance company before he called family and friends.
Oh, Jesus. Huh. That doesn't scream at you. I don't know what does.
One of the medics on scene knew something was not right. Paramedic Mick Hellbach recounts a story of performing CPR on Cynthia as a man sat nearby. He was playing in the dirt, fiddling in the dirt. Now,
that's what a grieving husband would do, right?
You don't know how, nobody knows how to behave in those situations, but I can guarantee I would not be playing in the dirt.
No.
When the paramedic told him that he needed to move away, he coldly stated, "It's okay, she's my wife." Now, mind you, he was not helping them at all. He wasn't hysterical. He was simply just hanging out, playing in the dirt, playing in the sand.
You would think that any kind of EMS or whoever would come out there would maybe take note of that and think.
Oh, they did. They did.
Yeah.
That's I mean, how can you
not?
So the paramedic was very forthcoming when King County Detective Sue Peters inquired about the quote-unquote accident. Detective Peters was on the case. Talking to Randy, she got the following story from him. Randy stated that he and Cynthia took out the rubber raft on the lake. Once they found a nice spot, the couple got into the water and were playing. While they were swimming, Cynthia got a cramp in her leg, and at the same time, a large boat drove past them, and due to the wake the boat left, it flipped the raft upside down. Randy would say he worked to flip the raft back over, and then he noticed Cynthia's face down in the water. He got into the raft and then pulled Cynthia into the raft and started to row back to shore, which took him about 30 minutes to do. Now, Detective Peters interviewed several of the people that were on the lake that day. And funny, not one of them could remember seeing a large boat speeding through the lake. And more interesting, as Randy came in with Cynthia, he wasn't panicking. He wasn't freaking out. He slowly pulled in and said, "Oh, hey, there's been an accident." Now,
What? And oh, Jesus!
It sounds like this isn't his first rodeo, Jen. And guess what? It's not.
He's not even trying to cover it up. It's just, not trying whatsoever.
Detective Peters is not buying it for a second, and she was about to get, quite a few more stories about this fella named Randy, as the story of Cynthia's death became public. There was a big problem about the death of Cynthia, and that was the fact that they couldn't prove Randy killed her. It's an accident, he said, she said. The phone started ringing, and it did not stop. And these people had a lot to say about Randy Roth, from former coworkers to former friends. These people had some stories to tell, including one about a former wife who met a similar fate as Cynthia. Her name was Janice Roth. Randolph, or Randy Roth, was born December 26, 1954, to Gordon and Elizabeth Roth. Randy was one of 5 children. There are contradicting stories about how the children were brought up by the siblings, but Randy seemed to favor his father and often would tell people that his mother was dead when she was actually very much alive.
That's hurtful.
Seems he has a problem with women.
I don't think he cares. Yeah.
As a teenager, Randy was a confident kid who had plenty of self-esteem. The ladies liked him and the guys wanted to be his friend. He enjoyed working on cars and driving fast. When Randy graduated from high school, Randy enlisted in the Marines. He had dreams of being a sniper and a hero, but instead, he ended up working as a file clerk. Sorry, Randy. He would not stay in the military for long, as his mother wrote to them saying she was having a hard time financially and needed him home. He was discharged and moved back home. I didn't even know you could do that. Your mother could tell you that I need him back home. I guess that would be considered a hardship or something.
Possibly. I have no idea. I don't understand how the military works at all. So, but I guess it does. So there you have it.
That's all right. Randy was not home long before he caught the eye of a young lady, Terry McGuire, age almost 16. Mind you, he was in the military. She's not quite 16, but okay. Terry was falling for Randy hard, so when Randy proposed, Terry was thrilled. The couple weren't living together for very long when Randy's behavior started to change. He was not at all affectionate, and he started to become distant. Terry suspected something was going on, and those suspicions became fact when she discovered some items that did not belong to her or in her home. Terry was devastated, but she knew the relationship was over, and she broke off the engagement.
Good for her.
Now, strangely enough, Terry's new place that she moved into after they separated had been broken into and robbed right after she moved in.
Oh.
She told police she believed Randy was responsible. That suspicion was confirmed when some of the items that were taken were used to decorate Randy's new place with his new girlfriend. Randy Roth would plead guilty to burglary. Randy would only serve 2 weeks' time, and upon release, he married one woman who had been the other woman. Her name was Donna Sanchez.
She's got balls.
Shortly after they were married, Donna gave birth to a son and then filed for divorce. Donna, however, would remain convinced all this time that Randy was innocent of all the crimes that he had been accused of.
Wow, this guy's character. Be nice, he's a character.
It wouldn't be long that Randy would stay single. 1981, Randy met Janice Miranda. Now, Janice was a divorced single parent of a little girl who was born from her first marriage to a military man. When the couple first met, Randy treated Janice as if she walked on water. Right after they were wed, Randy talked to Janice about the importance of, guess what? Life insurance, Jen.
No.
We need to have life insurance. Since the couple were not living together in a home yet, Randy told Janice that they needed to think about the future, and that future was that they should be prepared money-wise, should something happen to one of them. Janice signed the documents, and almost immediately, things changed in the marriage. Randy was not the loving spouse he once was, and had even began ignoring her.
Wow. This guy's got like a pattern, I believe.
Yep. Just like Cynthia, Randy thought that they, meaning Janice and Randy, needed to reconnect. And what better way to do this, Jen, than going on
vacation?
a little getaway?
Aw.
It was the Friday after Thanksgiving in 1981, the same year that they had met and married, when Randy thought that they could take a little hike on Beacon Rock. Beacon Rock is a state park located in the state of Washington. 848-foot Beacon Rock overlooks the Columbia River Gorge, which is a deep, wide gorge in the earth carved by ice age floods. Thank you, Wikipedia. And let me add, my sister lives in Seattle. I've been to this place, and it is absolutely breathtakingly gorgeous. Now, not the hike part, because, you know, I'm lazy, and I would just go to look and then get back in the car, like not a hiker does.
Can you drive up there?
Oh, yeah. There's the bridge. But you can hike up there, too, but no. Sometime during the hike, a man comes running down the path. He's hysterical and explaining to other hikers that he can't find his wife. Police are called to the area. Randy Roth explains that the two of them were hiking the trail, and all of a sudden, poof, she was gone. He tells them that she had slipped on some loose ground. Then he tells another officer that she was on the edge taking a photo and had slipped. His story as to what happened did change, but perhaps he was in shock. You know, I would think that you would get that right, but maybe not. It would be several hours later that Janice's body would be found. Even though investigators had a hard time believing the story and that it was more likely that Janice was pushed, they could not prove it. However, there was never a camera located near or anywhere around the body. So that would indicate that her slipping while taking a picture was a made-up story.
It's shocking.
I know you're going to be shocked about this next part too, Jen. The same day that Janice was found, Randy had hopped on the phone to the crematorium and made plans to have Janice cremated. He then called the insurance company the following morning to inquire about the life insurance payout. She has not been gone for 24 hours, and he's calling the life insurance payout people? What?
Well, Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
Always be suspicious.
Yeah.
Always. Now, at first, Randy remained the guardian of Janice's daughter. But then her biological father stepped up and took custody of her. Thank goodness. Thank goodness for that, because who knows what he would have done to her. Randy would once again find a victim. I mean, love. He's going to find love, Jen.
Find big, deep love.
Mm-hmm. It's 1985 when Randy met a woman named Donna Cliff. Now, Donna was a divorced mom of a small daughter. Just like Randy. Just like before, Randy courted her and the two would marry. Just like before, his demeanor would change after their wedding. This time, thankfully, Donna would not be another victim. The marriage would come to a screeching halt during a rafting trip that the two of them had on the Skycomish River. Thank goodness. While on the raft, Randy was purposely running into jagged rocks with the raft. And it was, she was at the front of the raft, and Donna basically was like, oh, hell no, what are you doing? The minute they got back to shore safely, she called her mom to say, I'm not sure about this, but I think Randy was just trying to murder me. And she went and filed for divorce. Thank
Good
goodness.
for her.
Thank goodness. Now, Randy, I know you're shocked, Jen. He's back on the market again, looking for yet another love/victim. And this
Quotations,
is a doozy.
love.
Mm-hmm. This is a doozy.
He's something else.
Just wait.
What a bastard.
This young lady's name was Mary Jo Phillips. Now, just like Donna, Mary Jo would not be a victim. Simply because, can't make this up, she's not going to be the cash cow he envisioned. You see, right after Randy proposed to her and she accepted, and then he did some legwork, he had discovered that Mary Jo had once had cancer. And since she had had cancer, that meant she was not insurable for life insurance.
Yep.
Randy broke it off immediately. Next.
Jeez.
And this brings us up to our first victim, Donna, the one we started the podcast.
And all this time, nobody even suspected anything. Like
they did, but they couldn't prove it. I mean, the drowning, the fall off of, I mean, it is unusual. I don't think a lot of people lose their spouse in tragic accidents.
No, not after short. I mean, they weren't married very long. In any of the case, or in both of the. Yeah, no. Sorry, I can't verbalize today.
So investigators, this is the Cynthia, second victim. At this point, after, learning a little bit about Randy, they thought, I think we need to look into this Cynthia death a little bit closer. So they go to the lake, to the area, and they recreated what Randy had said happened. Now, this test proved that it was nearly impossible that a boat the size Randy claimed caused the accident could have ever caused the raft to tip over, as he said it did. Not to mention that, strangely, now think about this, some of the personal items that were important to, say, him, not only didn't get lost as the raft flipped over, they were actually still in the raft and made it to shore safe and sound, Jen.
Really?
I know, right? Like his wallet.
That's so fortunate.
It is. Investigators would also locate a poem written by Cynthia, I guess right before all this happened, and they had found it in the garage. And it begins with the words, Randy does not love Cindy. Randy hates Cindy. And went on to detail 44 different complaints and criticisms that Roth had directed at her regarding her, meaning her appearance, her appetite, her sense of style, just very controlling. And
Randy wrote this, or
no? Cynthia wrote it about him. So Randy does not love her. So indicating form. That yes,
okay,
not for anybody to see except for her.
Wow, poor thing.
Investigators also discovered that Randy Roth had telephoned a friend right after he was arrested. He had actually asked the friend to go to his home to remove some things or evidence, if you will. Now, sadly, it seems Cynthia knew things were bad between them, as police collected writings, including that poem that I mentioned above, that Randy didn't love her. There were also some journal writings and things like that. So she knew. I think she felt trapped. It's a new marriage, and you're thinking, what did I do?
Exactly. Because he turned on her, right? Once
he gets that paper signed, he's back to the jerk he is. So with all this...
And I see your true colors shining through.
Knowing this about Cynthia and being pretty confident that he did, in fact, have something to do with her demise, investigators decide that they need to go back and they need to look at the death of Janice Roth. Again, at the time, police knew something was off, But they needed more evidence. And, he automatically had her cremated, so they didn't have very much to go on. But that didn't stop them, thank goodness. Authorities went to a judge, pleading the judge to issue a warrant to allow them to get in Randy Roth's house. They needed a closer look. They found some rather interesting things, such as a wetsuit, which is odd, since he claimed he was not a good swimmer. He had told the authorities at the beginning there that he was not a very good swimmer. He couldn't swim very much. And they all found that odd since he felt comfortable enough to go into a raft.
Right.
Right. And that's why
not
he
a strong swimmer.
Yes, of course. They also found that most of Cynthia's belongings, you ready? Were in the trash. He moved them all to the trash.
Well, of course he did.
Threw it away. During the trial, the defense tried many times to have the case tossed out, but thank goodness it moved forward. In March of 1992, Randy Roth's trial began. The defense would paint a picture of a man who just happened to have, sadly, lost 2 wives in freak accidents. Poor Randy. While the prosecution went at it with the greed angle. He simply killed these women for money. Among those that testified in the trial were witnesses at the lake the day Cynthia died, stating that Randy was slowly pulling the raft to shore, not like a man who should be in a panic having his wife desperately needing medical care. There was a scuba instructor who gave lessons to Randy, which went against Randy's claim that he was a bad swimmer. He took the stand. Janice Roth's daughter took the stand to tell the jury about her mother. She said that her mom was worried for her, meaning herself and also her daughter. And so she went and compiled a stash of money. Okay. And she hid it, I think it was under a floorboard in the house. And her mom said, hey, listen, if anything happens to me, this money is for you. It's for you to get out of here and do what you need to do. Approximately a week after she died, the daughter went to get the money, but Randy walked in and saw her. Well, he demanded the money. That's my money. You give me that money. And he said, I'm going to buy presents for you and everybody else. Of course, that never happened.
No, because he's a slime ball. Hey everyone, Cam and I are so excited to announce that we're going to be at the Dark History and Horror Convention in Champaign, Illinois on August 19th and 20th this year, 2022. The folks behind the Dark History and Horror Convention have brought together a great collection of authors, artists, and many others who are familiar with the darker parts of history that most of us were never taught in history class. From Native American massacres to civil rights struggles, from gangsters to John Wayne Gacy, this convention is the perfect place to share your passion with others who are interested in the dark side of history and pop culture.
Attending with us is our friend podcaster Bob Motta from Defense Diaries, and along with him is E.J. Hammond. Not only did she write a few episodes for us, but she is an expert on Ted Bundy. You can also meet Jason London, better known as Randall Pink Floyd from Dazed and Confused, and his brother Jeremy London, who I'm sure you know from Mallrats and Gods and Generals. And from Terminator, John Connor himself, Edward Furlong, who was amazing in American History X. There's so many more guests and vendors that we can't even mention them all here.
So hurry up and get your tickets and make sure to follow Dark History and Horror Convention on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We know you're not going to want to miss this event. So hurry now and get your tickets, and we'll see you in Champaign, Illinois on August 19th and 20th at the Dark History and Horror Convention.
His wife that he tried to kill named Donna but didn't took the stand and told them about the terrifying raft trip and how she could have been one of his victims. Mary Jo, who almost was his wife, testified that she was dumped after he learned he could not insure her. A co-worker of Randy's took the stand and told them, and you can't make this up, about how Randy contacted her just days after the death of Donna, because guess what? He had 2 tickets to go to Reno, and, they're going to go bad.
Didn't want to go to waste.
They're going to be wasted. And she was like, yeah, no, I am not going to Reno with you.
He's really got some nerves. Seriously.
I know.
When you said he has self-esteem, he really has self-esteem. I mean, he's...
Rubber and glue. Nothing sticks to him. Then it's Randy's turn to take the stand. He had to admit that he was not always truthful in the stories he told people, Jen.
Oh,
stories that he served in Vietnam, he did not. Stories about owning a big cattle ranch, he did not. Once he was on the stand, he would be asked questions and he would kind of feign forgetfulness or, oh, gosh, I just can't recall. I don't have the best memory. In both the cases, Roth had testified it was the idea of each woman to go to the place where they eventually died. And in both cases, he initially resisted the outings. He didn't want to go.
Oh, he's blaming it on the victims then.
Mm-hmm. Well, he didn't want to go there. They did.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
When testimony wrapped up, it only took the jury 8.5 hours to come to a decision. Randy Roth was found guilty in the death of his 4th wife, Cynthia, and received 50 years for her murder.
Good.
He agreed to a plea bargain on the additional theft charges stemming from stolen materials and equipment discovered during the initial search of his home. Because he had his other wife's stuff and things that he stole from other people, his girlfriend's stuff. Randy Roth is now 67 years old and serving his sentence at the Monroe Correctional Complex in the state of Washington. Now, a little FYI, if you want some more information about the story, 2 books have been written on it. One by one of, I guess, every true crime favorite writer, Anne Rule, profiled this case in her book, A Rose for Her Grave. Another book entitled Fatal Charm is written by Carlton Smith, and he explores this case in depth. So that is the story of Randy Roth, Jen.
What a complete
wait.
asshole.
There's more, Jen. There's more.
Oh, there's more?
Mm-hmm. Now, I know on the show we've debated nature versus nurture. And what I'm about to share with you plays into that debate, and we can talk about it. You ready?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
It's August 14th, 1977, when a couple stumble upon human remains outside of Everett, Washington. I guess they were berry picking or mushroom hunting, something like that. They call investigators. They arrive, and that they see the person clearly has been shot in the head several times. Due to being shot in the head, they couldn't really make out her face. They did know it was a female. They believed that the female was somewhere between her mid-20s to mid-30s. They checked locally for any reports of missing persons, but nobody had been reported missing. So her identity, they couldn't figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. A day before the body was discovered, a man by the name of David Roth, 20 years old, was arrested for weapons charges and marijuana charge. He would get out on bond, and while he was out, he confessed to a friend that, recently I was really heavily intoxicated, kind of went on a little bender, and I think I killed a hitchhiker. Oh, you think you killed a hitchhiker? Okay. So the friend goes to police, and then, they tell the officers the story. So the police head out, and they try to go find David. They can't find David, but they do locate his car. And guess what's inside his car, Jen? That's right.
A shotgun.
A gun, along with some bungee cords. The gun was tested, and it was proved to be the murder weapon that was used on the body that was recently discovered. David was arrested in Port Orchard, Washington in January 1979. He, stating that he had picked up a hitchhiker on or around August 9th, 1979, after she agreed to hang out with him, and they were going to go hang out, drink some beer, have some fun. They drove to a secluded wooded area. They began to drink and have a little fun. And, well, when David propositioned her, basically hit on her, he wanted to, have relations, if you will.
Right.
She refused. Well, that's not going to work for him. So he gets mad. He takes the bungee cords and he strangles her. David then dragged her body into the woods and shot her in the head 7 times before taking off in his car. Now, he was eventually convicted of the murder in November 1979, but he never knew her name. So her true identity remained a mystery, Jen. Get this. He was sentenced to 26 years in prison. David was eventually released in 2005, after which he moved to Everett with his wife. He died on August 9th, 2015 of cancer. Only in the year 2020, were the remains confirmed to be Elizabeth Ann Roberts, who went by Lisa, and she was only 17 years old. So missing from 1979 to 2020. Thank you, DNA. Thank you,
DNA. I bet you her parents are relieved to get her back.
This is how the nature version. You have two sons and they both brutally kill women. That's
right.
Telling, I believe. So that is the case of Randy Roth, but his brother was also a convicted killer.
So I wonder, some people said that his childhood was okay, and this is his family, right? His brothers and sisters?
Yeah, well, David was his brother. His father, he seemed to be close to his father, but he was not close to his mother, and in fact had told people she had died, but she did not.
Right, but didn't you say something about his siblings also had conflict on if he had a good upbringing or not?
But I said that they didn't really, there wasn't much known about that.
Oh, there wasn't known.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 5 of them, and 2 of them are killers, convicted killers. So, and Randy's still alive. Technically, he could have been out on parole just recently, but he's not. He's still serving at 67. And I really found it weird that they gave him the max, 50 years, which I thought was unusual because typically, from what I read in the state of Washington, you get 30 years, but I don't understand why he didn't get life if he took a life.
Don't ask me.
I guess it was hard to prove.
Depends on the district attorney on what they wanted to go for, if they wanted
that was part
conviction
of
at all. Right? Because wouldn't Casey Anthony be let out if they wouldn't have gone for first degree murder?
Oh, yeah, if they could have done something else. Yeah,
right.
Manslaughter. Yeah.
Right.
The case of Janice Roth, his other wife that he murdered, the county who had some financial trouble, I guess, kind of said they were okay as long as he got convicted. And if he was convicted on the murder of Cynthia, then they would not charge him. And they didn't. But they wanted to make sure he got at least 50 years. And he did. So he was never charged in the murder of Janice Roth. And Janice is the one that fell from the rock.
The rock. Wow. What a horrible death. Drowning also would be horrible, but
you're newly married, like,
right?
Yeah. So, and just Mary Jo, could you imagine you meet this guy and then he's like, "Oh, you had cancer. Never mind, you're done."
I rescind the proposal.
What a jerk! Yeah. So this was all financial, of course, and that is the story of Randy Roth. Just I don't know,
despicable human being.
Really,
very punchable.
Punchable. Yes. I like that word. Punchable. He's got a punchable face. So that's all I have for you, Jen. You been watching anything good?
Just completed the Stranger Things again watching it with my husband, which I'm glad I did because there's a lot of things that I missed. I tend to, when I watch things by myself, maybe not pay as close attention as I should.
You? No, never.
I know. ADHD is wonderful. But that's about it. Discovered the live portion of TikTok, and it's absolutely enthralling me.
And now when I go on TikTok, because you shared that with me, I keep getting and I'm like, I don't want to watch people scratch off lotto tickets.
It amazes me the
exciting
stuff.
To me.
It amazes me the stuff that people go live on, like scratching off lottery tickets. You know, those games where you put a quarter in and you have to get a whole bunch of other quarters pushed back in to get the prize. People do that live. The one that I about lost it, remember those bubble games in the 80s where you fill the things up with water and then you have to push a button and
the
air
rings
punches
go up and
rings.
Yeah.
People do that on a live.
I got an idea. I think we should do one on watching paint dry.
That it's probably do well. Trust me.
And it'd be interesting to see with lighting how it changes color, and then once it dries, the color will change.
But no, it's amazing. I would think that lives would be for, like, if you and I would go on live to talk to people, and answer questions, or just people doing makeup or hair. And people do that. But some of the other things that are on there just blow my mind.
Scratching of lotto tickets, that's lost on me. And then another one I found.
People send them money. People send them money to do it. That's what kills me.
It was like a circular thing, and it was going, I know you saw it, and there was like presents and things in there, and they'd scoop it out, and then they'd take the present and open
the crystals. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So there'd be like a necklace or a crystal ball or whatever.
Yeah. Or even they have the little bath bomb things that when you put them in water, you get a ring out of them. They do that.
I'm sure all our
you
younger
can buy one of those
listeners
little
are going,
fuzzy ball.
those people are so old. Our younger listeners are going, those people are so old.
I know.
I
feel like then when I come across something that is so dumb, and I'll show my kids, and they'll go, "Oh yeah, I've seen that one before." And I'm like, "People watch this," and they're like, "Well,
and
you are."
Money off of it, though. Making money off of it.
I'm watching it because I'm so utterly flabbergasted that people are monetizing this kind of stuff.
Yep, I know, Jen. Can't make it up.
But that's pretty much it for me.
I went down a rabbit hole yesterday. I think it was yesterday. And I think I don't want to talk about it because I'm going to do an episode on it. But there's just no words. That's all I got to say about that. I don't.
Well, obviously, I mean, you're not talking about it, so I'm not sure why you brought it up.
I talked to my mom last night. I'm like, you got to hear the story. And I told her, and I was like,
well, good. Work on it. Once we get off here.
That's all I got to say. Detectives that get a little bone, and 30 years later, they still have the bone, and they're not letting go. Thank God. Woof. So anyway, yeah, that's about what I watched yesterday. That's what I'm saying. So I haven't really watched anything great.
Yeah, I haven't. Well, I will say that my husband did put on the new Doctor Strange movie. Well, I guess it's new on Disney Plus with Benedict Cumberbatch, or Cumberbach or whatever, Banana Snatch, whatever his name is. And it was fine. You know, I love him. I think he's neat, as my dad would say. He's neat. But one thing I hate about watching those kind of movies with my husband is because I think he thinks I'm an idiot.
He explains everything to you.
He does. It'll like go for 5 minutes and then he'll pause it and say, okay, now what's happening here is in the comics, Doctor Strange. And even I roll my eyes, I sigh heavily, I do whatever it can because I don't want to make him angry. He's trying to share.
So your 2
his
hour
interest
movie
in me is like
5
4
hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Because he's explaining it. And I'm like, okay. And then it'll go for 15 more minutes and he'll pause it.
That's why,
now,
honestly,
this is the Hall of Justices or whatever it is.
I prefer to watch movies and TV by myself for that reason. I don't want to be disrupted. I don't want people to explain things to me. Just stop. Just don't.
Right.
So, yeah, I get it.
No. So, but it was okay. It was a fun movie. It was Benedict. I could watch Little Benny. That's not going to harm me at all.
Yeah.
But other than that, I haven't really watched anything besides the Stranger Things. And I love the new character this season. So I'm going to go look to see what else he has done and go
stalk him.
Go stalk him.
That's what I do. I do it all the time.
I know. This one was the one that Doja Cat liked.
Yeah. Yep.
Joseph Quinn or something like that.
Do we have a promo
Pretty Chocolate Eyes. We do not have a promo, but I do want to do a huge shout out to our friend Sherry Laurie from Australia.
Hi, Sherry. Can I do my fake accent now?
No. She was so sweet and did a one-time donation to us from our webpage. She's very sweet. She said that she listens to us in Morbid, and she calls Morbid her murder girls and us her murder grown-ups.
Oh my God, I thought you were going to say murder grandmas. I was like, oh no, I can't take it. No, I can't take it.
Nope, murder grown-ups. Murder grown-ups is actually just pushing it.
I'll take that. But we'll
get it. Yeah, but thank you so much, Sherry. We really appreciate it.
And also, while we're mentioning it, I think we got a little heartfelt letter from Heather, who's a stay-at-home mom. So hi, Heather. Hi, look, we're talking to you for real because you said you stay at home with your kids, and then we're like the only adults' voices you hear. So this is Cam, the one that thinks weird things. That's me. And then Jennifer's Jen is Jen. So
Jen is Jen.
Say hi, Jen.
Jen is the one that had the dental...
The dentist.
The dentist who is so like your mom. And I said, I don't know if anybody else has remembered, but I talked about my pediatric dentist when I was younger. And if I would cry or anything, he would cover up my nose and my mouth so I couldn't breathe.
Was your mom in there at that time?
My mom doesn't believe me. My mom doesn't believe that happened. She's like, he was so sweet. You would fall asleep in his chair. And now I'm thinking, well, maybe he drugged me.
I was going to say, maybe
you know what I mean? Out. He could have drugged me. But once again, this was like in the 70s. So kids didn't really mean anything to anybody back then, right?
Or just different.
Or didn't seem like they did anyway. But it seems like Heather wrote in saying that her mom, who is about our age, had the exact same experience. So, and her mom was just right across the state from us. So I kind of wonder if they went to the same dental school.
Might have.
Here's
a good trick to get the little ones to be quiet.
Yeah, that's what you do. You make them so they can't. You make it so they can't breathe.
Then they're probably so shocked and they don't cry because they're like, "Oh my god!"
No, I didn't, because it shocks you quiet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't breathe.
Terrible. But anyway, so that was nice. And Heather, you're never alone. We're right here talking to you. So yeah. And to everybody else out there, thank you for all the love and support. It means a lot. We just wrapped up our 4th year of doing this, and it has been some ups and downs, and some of you have literally been there since day one. So giant thank you to you guys. Also, Jen, tell them where we're going back-to-back weekends in August.
Ooh,
It's like we're busy.
Yes, actually, on August 19th and 20th, Cam and I will be at the Dark History and Horror Convention in Champaign, Illinois. Come see us on August 14th. It's from 4 to 8. On the 20th, it's from 10 to 7 p.m. Going to be a lot of cool people there.
I am so excited. I'm going to nerd
Jeremy
out there,
London and his brother Jason London. Jeremy was Mallrats. Jason London was Dazed and Confused. Edward Furlong is going to be there from Terminator, American History X. I mean, you probably heard the commercial or the ad that's in the that we played in this episode. There's so many cool people. Lots of books are going to be there. Podcasts. Bob Motta's going to be there. Our other friend Brandon from Southern Gothic, whom I love Brandon. He's like the nicest man ever. E.J. Hammond, who wrote a couple episodes for us.
Hammond or Harmon? Hammond. E.J. Harmon or Hammond?
Hammond, I believe. E.J. Hammond. Lots of authors, lots of vendors. I mean, it's going to be so much fun. I'm really looking forward to it.
And if you can't make that, there's always
True Crime Podcast Festival in Dallas, Texas, the following weekend. And there we'll have all your podcasts that you love. I know Crime Lines will be there, True Crime Bullshit.
Gen Y.
Once again, I'm not sure if Gen Y is going to be there. I haven't seen them.
True Crime Rhymes with Vodka, our friends.
Yes.
Eric from
True Consequences.
I cannot talk today. I apologize.
I know. Lainey from True Crime Fan Club will be there. She actually put it all together, and we cannot thank her any more than we possibly do. Nina from Already Gone. Totally love Nina. Robin from The Trail Went Cold. Absolutely adore this guy. We're birthday twins, by the way.
Aw.
Sinead from Men's Ria is coming all the way from Ireland. LA Not So Confidential is going to be there. Nefarious Nightmare. True Crime in the 50. Cults and Crimes in Cabernet. Santa Maybe is going to be there. Seriously Sinister. Love those guys. Women in Crime. Rusty Hinges. Paranormal Chicks. True Crime PI. Somewhere Sinister. This is Monsters. Military Murder. Vile Virginia. Justice Delayed. See You Next Tuesday. Shockingly Wicked. Crime Scholar. One for the Road, Human Monsters, Mama Mystery, Methods and Madness, Dialogue, Beyond Contempt, Vanished, Affirmative Murder, Criminal Contact, Pretend, Scams and Cons. Tons. Murder, She Told, Housewives of True Crime. Trust me, there's tons of people. There's a lot more. And I don't want to read them all out.
Well, I can't wait. So there you have it.
So come see us. But there's going to be a lot of podcasters there, so make sure you come join us. If you love True Crime Podcast and you can swing going to Dallas, Texas, come by and see us.
Yes.
Love to have you.
Please do.
Real quick, I wanted to mention that as of July 16th, 2022, the suicide hotline phone number is changing in the United States. So if you are feeling like you need to speak to someone, if you need to reach out, if your mental health is not doing so well, all you have to do is call or text 988 and you will be connected to a trained counselor with an existing Lifeline network. So once again, all you have to do is call 988 and you can speak with someone that will help you.
But until then, Jen, remember, lock your doors.
And keep passing by those open windows.
Bye-bye.
Love ya.
Today's episode was researched and written by me, Cam. For more information about this episode, as well as all the sources I used, please check out our show notes or the podcast website at ourtruecrimepodcast.com. Our True Crime Podcast is developed and created by hosts Jen and Cam. Original music and audio mix of all our True Crime Podcast episodes is courtesy of Nico Vertesi from We Talk of Dreams. Listener discretion is provided by Edward October from October Pod VHS. Our True Crime Podcast is executive produced by Nico Vertesi and Dick Vane. Make sure to like and subscribe to Our True Crime Podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. We can be reached on Instagram and Facebook at Our True Crime Podcast or on Twitter at Our True Crime Pod. You can email us at ourtruecrimepodcast@gmail.com. If you really like the show, make sure to check out our Patreon at Our True Crime Podcast. Our True Crime Podcast is an OTC production.